Brooklyn, Orlando, and I got a feeling we're going to see a lot of D'Angelo Russell in this highlight. Not a lot of Aaron Gordon.
No?
This is great because we know what he can do. Take flight.
Oh, my goodness.
The problem is Aaron Gordon left the game due to lower back tightness. He finished with 20 points, so good outing for him. Mo Bamba got his own song playing above the rim. Shaq West on that.
Hey, man, that song's all over the place.
So was D'Angelo Russell in his
Ice
outside
water?
game.
Okay, Lo.
He's not done, though. Russell 5 for 5 from three-point range. 19 points in the quarter, 24 in the first half. Nikola Vucevic going to work in the second half. 14 points, 14 rebounds.
There's ice water in his veins. D-Lo said, I'm back in my high school neighborhood.
So we have ourselves a 2-point game. Orlando down. Fournier.
Oh, Champagne, missed the easy one.
No good.
Ooh.
And D'Angelo Russell tying his career high. 40-piece.
You was teasing when you were on that one, Chris. You was teasing us.
No barbecue sauce.
You went back to his old high school. You know, Mount Verde High School's in Orlando.
That's what you with the inside info.
Come on, baby. Yeah.
Like, you know what? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's D'Angelo earlier with the Game Time crew. Not us, but the other guys. Matt Weiner.
D, thanks for stopping by. You guys, I guess you're used to this by now because I keep telling people you guys play the most entertaining games in the league. It's night after night that stuff like this happens with you. How much fun has this season been?
Man, I appreciate you guys having me. It's been amazing. You know, we got a great collective group of guys, you know, that are, you know, coming together. You know, we know it's going to take all of us to get to where we are today. And we know it's going to take all of us to get wins in this league. It's hard to win in this league, so we know what it takes.
D'Angelo, this is 2 weeks in a row now. I got a chance to talk to you after one of these games, man. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Is it becoming a thing, too, where the muscle memory for this entire group is now that we can finish games and we can get through these late game situations because you've been through so many of them this year?
Right. Correct. We've, man, honestly, I've been through it my whole career. On the other end of the tail end of games like that, you know, but I've learned from them, you know, and I think we got a great veteran group of guys as well that is appreciating being on the other end. We got guys that have been on it throughout their career, winning those type of games. So it feels good to get that.
D'Angelo, Sean Marks and Coach Atkinson seem like they've really tried to build a culture there where everybody understands that you're going to be bigger than the individual parts, that everybody's going to be willing to sacrifice for one another. And when you guys lost Karis LeVert, I think we've seen you do that, and you've been rallying around one another.
Yeah, like I said, we know it's going to be we as a group to get it done. No individual. Tonight it was I would say it was my night. The night before was Spencer. The night before Joe Harris. Like we got a great group of guys that confidence is throughout the roof, and coach is preaching it. You know, we're playing for one another, and we want to see each other do well.
Oh, D, I keep calling you guys America's team because you're just that entertaining. So congratulations on entertaining America again tonight and for getting above 500 for the first time this season. We appreciate you stopping by.
Heck yeah, man. Appreciate you guys.
So the Brooklyn Nets just passed the midway point of the season as they have 24 wins. And if you look at the last 4 years, I mean, this is by far their best season since they went to the playoffs in 2014. Boozy, you played against them.
Yeah, we played against them. That's back when they had Paul Pierce and D. Will and KG. And good for Brooklyn, man. They're doing really well. They've won 7 of the last 9, looking very good.
I look at Sean Marks, Boozer, former players, now getting the opportunity to be general manager, making tough decisions. I remember when Kenny Atkinson took over, if you weren't a basketball person, you didn't really know the name. And then I go back to where I played against him at the University of Richmond, and they were good in going into the tournament as a hard-nosed point guard. So watching him as a player and playing against him, that's the way he's coaching. Mm-hmm. He's coaching guys hard. He's demanding guys to play the right ways, demanding guys to be professional. And then you get a guy like Dinwiddie who's getting the opportunity. Same though with D'Angelo. A lot of us, I admit, I put my hand up. We were starting to write D'Angelo off because we were trying to figure out that he wanted to be cute off the court or on the court. Now he's on the court playing the game and being consistent. And now that point guard, head coach relationship, you can tell starting to show because he's playing consistent basketball this year.
There's a stat that popped up during that interview. 9-5 in games decided by 3 points or less. So they're also very clutch. That's something that they struggled with the past 2 or 3 years. They play tough in games, but then lose. This year, they're finding out ways to win those games.
And we said too many nights, Boozer, where the bad teams find a way to lose. So it lets you know that even in today's NBA, where you don't have a lot of practice time, we know from being in the shoot-around, we go through situations. You can tell guys are locked in those type of practices.
Yeah, that's when you know a team's turning the corner and they're starting to win, because the close games, like 3D said, the bad teams find crazy ways to lose those games. Brooklyn is starting to turn the corner and win those close games.
And all of the guards are successful, right? Whether it's Spencer Dinwiddie, D'Angelo Russell, Karis LeVert, they seem to have a system that gets the most out of their guards. Why does it work so well for them?
I mean, they got a coach that was a point guard, that was a guard. So they're learning, he's teaching them, schooling them on how to be effective, how to play hard, how to make plays for each other, how to find your gaps when to drive to the hoop, have the balance of taking shots and getting your teammates involved, and they're doing a good job.
Throw another guy in there for you. Joe Harris couldn't get off the bench in Cleveland, could he?
He's balling for Brooklyn.
There's certain nights you watch and you look at like, wait a minute, is that the same Joe Harris? So once again, opportunity knocks. Guys prepare themselves for that opportunity, and then you get a head coach that puts you in good situation to be successful. So once again, when you
Pacers were blown out by Philly last night. You saw that on TNT, but still sitting third in the Eastern Conference, 44 games into the season, thanks in large part to a healthy Victor Oladipo, who recently sat down with Roz Gold on Wood A.
Victor Oladipo is just a fantastic basketball player.
He had a breakout year last year for the Pacers, and he looks great here in the season already.
Oladipo to the rim.
Shake him up, Vic.
Here's Oladipo, 3 seconds.
Race up.
Oladipo to win it.
Another one! Victor Oladipo, this is your city.
What have you found it takes to bear the responsibility of being the leader and the face of this franchise?
A lot goes into it, you know what I mean? And too much is given, much is required. And I've been hearing that for like every day for the past year. It's been tough, man. You gotta know what to say and when to say it, but at the same time, you gotta listen. I think being a leader is something that you have to learn how to do. There are natural born leaders, but there's some aspects of leadership that are things that you have to continuously learn from the people you surround yourself with, from your teammates. For me, I'm learning that every day. I'm learning my teammates. I'm learning what they like, what they dislike, and just about their everyday life. And also with leadership comes sacrifice. Sacrifice for yourself, sacrificing your time, and doing whatever it takes to help your team win. And that's what I'm locked in and focused on.
You have a pretty balanced roster, a number of guys scoring in double digits. Does that balance kind of take the pressure off a little?
In general, yeah. I mean, it's hard to guard us. You can double me, but I'm throwing it to Domas, and Domas is throwing it to whoever else is open. Or I'm throwing it to Miles, and Miles is throwing it to whoever else is open, or they're shooting their shot. So we got a lot of depth, and we got a lot of good players who can make things happen. But I never had a lot of pressure on me to begin with. So whether they double me or not, I don't feel any pressure. I just got to go out there and play.
Has your team earned respect yet? What is the respect you feel your team deserves right now?
I mean, being with them every day, I believe we earn a lot of respect. We deserve a lot of respect, but I don't think guys give it to us, which is fine, you know. At the end of the day, everybody isn't going to respect you, no matter who you are, no matter what you do. Just focus on each other and continuing to get better. We know that we can play at a high level in this league. We know we can win at a high level in this league, and we just got to continue to keep proving it every day.
Mentioned the Pacers are third in the East right now, and as was discussed there, this is a deep basketball team. Victor Oladipo is obviously their best player. My question for you guys is this a better regular season team or playoff team? Because they don't necessarily have that superstar guy who scares you in a postseason scenario as good as Oladipo is.
I don't know if I agree with you about Oladipo. I think Oladipo is a guy that...
You think he's there?
I think he is a guy that in today's NBA, he's a problem in a playoff setting. And look, this is a league right now where you're either a super team or you're a team with quality depth and emerging stars that you're going to hope can carry you deeper into the postseason than they normally would. I think about Boston last year without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. They relied on a similar formula, quality depth as opposed to one or two superstars carrying you. Denver has a team to me right now that's built exactly like that. So I'm not as concerned about the top end of the Pacers roster. I'm more concerned about is there quality depth what it needs to be for them to have a sustained playoff run?
So it's interesting. I think people lose sight of how good they were in the playoffs last year.
They were good,
They lost to Cleveland in 7 games. But I thought it was the toughest series Cleveland had until they made it to the finals, quite frankly.
Agreed.
The Pacers are a team, because they have to be better than the sum of their parts and they have to be on the same page, to some degree, they have to outwork you all the time. And over the course of an 82-game year, that's really difficult. I don't think they have the kind of margin for error to be a high 50s win team. I don't think they can be a 60-win team in terms of their margin for error and their star power. But in terms of their ability to lock in and prepare for a playoff opponent, the number of guys they have on their team, to your point about quality depth, who have basketball IQ, grit and toughness, and are willing to sacrifice for the greater good, is incredible. And their best player, Victor Oladipo, doesn't care anything at all about anything other than winning basketball games. And that puts you in really good stead come playoff time. I think Nate McMillan and his staff will do a great job preparing for series. I think they're a more dangerous postseason team than they are regular season.
Interesting. Yeah, they do have really good depth. I don't disagree with that at all. Trade deadline's coming up next month. Where should they be looking, if at all?
You know, it's interesting. I think the one thing for them, it's complicated with what they have. You don't have a lot of pieces there you can aggregate to go get another star-type player without sort of taking a step back in terms of how you really operate.
Yeah.
But they're a team that by design is going to overachieve. And that means all the pieces they have sort of have to fit together in lockstep. If I was going to bring in anything, and you could say this about any contender, I would want more veteran three-point shooting.
Yep.
Somebody who can actually make shots versus a good contest. But who doesn't want a 6'8" guy that can make threes?
Right.
Yeah, I think the same dilemma that the Pacers are going to have come trade deadline is one that's going to plague every other team around the league that's not the Warriors. And that is there one player out there that pushes us up to that very next level, whatever it is, if it's right,
and do they think they're good enough to get to that next level?
Exactly. And with a free agent summer coming up, Matt, where there's so many different, scenarios they could play out, I would imagine we're going to see a lot of teams very apprehensive about doing anything crazy because they know what could potentially be coming down the line. When things go haywire in the summer and if one player moves somewhere and it kind of sets the whole world on its axis, then we got an opportunity to do some things that we don't want to jeopardize at the trade deadline.
Well, to that end, though, Indiana's really interesting because they're not a team that's going to sit there and think they are a max free agent destination.
No. Right.
And they only have $60 million on the books for next year. So Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan have the ability to go into trade deadline right now, willing to potentially take some money into the future if it can be the right piece for them. And I'm going to throw out a name for you with no understanding of how they make the math work whatsoever.
Sure.
Marc Gasol, if he gets moved from Memphis, playing with that group of guys, playing with a big like Sabonis who knows how to play and can dribble, pass, and shoot, that would be a fascinating piece to put in there and to give Nate McMillan and see what he can do.
You talked about the Denver Nuggets zagging when everyone else is trying to zig. Indiana could definitely do that if Gasol's there with Turner or Sabonis on the floor with him. That would be
well,
really
and Turner can
scenario.
space off of Gasol and vice versa.
Absolutely.
They'd be able to be really elite defensively in the paint. Let's make it happen. I like it.
Sabonis is great off the ball. Gasol could.
And Indiana has already crashed the party in the Eastern Conference when we weren't expecting it. Nobody looked up and said, hey, there's going to be 5 teams in the East that you have to worry about in that top group, and Indiana's not the 5th team. Right now it's Boston. Right. So they gotta be very mindful of the fact that we talked about Golden State, and do you get worse before you get better with Boogie coming in? Well, if you make a move and you're one of these teams, does it set you back before it propels you forward? Right. And do you want to take that risk now when you're already in a really good position if you're Indiana?
If it propels you forward, because you never know when
you don't know.
Roll the dice on these deals. Well, hopefully you have the day off Monday for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, which we have helpfully already planned for you. Wasn't that nice of us? The pair of NBA TV
Somebody
games,
did it.
Thunder and Knicks, Magic and Hawks, and then it's a TNT tripleheader, Pels, Grizz, Rockets, Sixers, and the Warriors in LA to take on the Lakers. Game time throughout the day, really, here on NBA TV, and then TNT takes over inside the NBA when the night ends.